Hello everybody and welcome back to the Mongoli Show. My birthday is October 4th, my anniversary on YouTube is October 3rd, and my anniversary as a Twitch affiliate is somewhere in late September. So every year I wrap all three of those things up and call it the Anniversary Bash. Now the first one was pretty mediocre, but the last two have been for charity. They've been 24-hour streams and we've raised over $6,000 over the course of the 2 years, which I think is pretty darn impressive. So I'm pretty happy with that. I decided this year that I would do an actual video for every game that we have played on stream from the second anniversary to the third anniversary. And if this goes well, we'll do it for the fourth and the fifth and the sixth as time goes on. So this is my tier list of every game we've streamed on the Mongoli Show from October 2024 to October 2025. Let's get into it. All right, now for this list, we've got 56 different games that we're gonna be going over. I'll do a quick little blurb of each one, and I'm gonna be rating these games based off of how much fun I had, how much fun my chat seemed to have, and how good it was as a stream. Somewhere in there, we're gonna find a number, we're gonna put this on the tier list and decide how good these games actually are for me as a streamer. Now there's gonna be some games on this list that are gonna be well-loved games, they're gonna be low for whatever reason, and that's just the way that this list is gonna work, and I apologize if it pissed you off. Leave a comment down below, I'd love to hear which game you thought was way too low or way too high, and maybe we can explain why it was where it is. So you can see there's 56 different games on this list that we played over the course of the last year. I tried to separate them by single player games that we beat in like one, maybe two sittings, moving into the horror style games, then into multiplayer, and then finally into the Metroidvanias, which is my favorite genre. So let's get right into this list and take a look at the first game up there. Game number one on our list is Firewatch. Now this game is a single player experience where you are taking over as a park ranger in a park where there's a couple of different things going on. You have a radio to talk to a woman. The relationship between you and this woman is absolutely incredible. The writing on this game, the voice acting in this game really brings you in. The mystery is totally fine. The story is completely serviceable and actually pretty engaging. I really enjoyed this one and my audience seemed to really engage with this one as well. Maybe not quite as much as I did, to be perfectly honest, but I still feel like this was a really solid game, fun to stream, and even if you're not streaming this one, this is worth the playthrough. It's only like 4 to 6 hours long, like it's pretty short, but it keeps a good pace, it keeps moving. My audience jokes at me that it was like a dating simulator, but like realistically, I did want to see the two main characters get together because their chemistry was strong, the writing was strong. I really liked this one. I'm gonna put this one up into the top ranks of B tier. It's not something I'm gonna be playing again, probably ever, but as a one-time experience, I thought it was absolutely incredible. Journey is a PlayStation 3 game, I believe, that came out. It is very short. It is multiplayer, but hilariously, I didn't know that it was multiplayer. So I did see other people running around on my screen kind of in the distance. They look exactly like you, and I just thought that was like an AI guy running around. It wasn't until much later in the game that I realized, well, actually, it wasn't until the game ended, and the person I was running around with joined me in Twitch chat and was like, hey, that was fun. Thanks for playing with me. And I got really confused for a minute before I started having a better appreciation of the game. You do have the ability to communicate with another person, but only by hitting a button that makes kind of a whistling noise. You can make short or long whistles. I guess you could do Morse code if you really knew what you were talking about, but there's no way to actually communicate with that person. And at the end of the game, it'll show you all the different people you went on your journey with, which I thought was actually legitimately cool, but I didn't know that as I was playing the game. The gameplay itself is fairly simplistic, but I'm gonna say story of the game, it doesn't really tell you much, but it gives you a lot through emotions. The story of the game is where this one shines. It was really impactful. It was really cool to see. And it's one of those, you know what, never mind, I won't spoil it. It's one of the games with a really powerful ending. I really liked this game, but again, I know there's a massive community for this. There are people who still play it on Twitch, and obviously the person who followed me or found me that day was a long-term player. I don't really understand that personally. It was a fun one and done. I enjoyed my experience with it, but it's not something I'm planning on going back to. My audience seemed to enjoy this one well enough, but realistically, I don't think it was one that they were raving for either. I'm gonna put this one, I think we're gonna go in B tier, but pretty significantly behind Firewatch, unfortunately. Twilight Chronicles is an absolutely ridiculous game. It does not take very long to beat. It's kind of a puzzle game, but you're only given about 10 minutes at a time to play it. Every 10 minutes or so, something bad is going to happen to your character, and you're going to restart, and you're going to have to remember what you learned from the previous incantations, and make sure that you can either do that or not do that to try and get further and try and exit the bathroom. I enjoyed this game for what it was, but it's the kind of game you're only going to play for a little bit, and the humor was okay, but not nearly as strong as one we're going to talk about in the future. I liked it. I didn't love it. The audience didn't get as on board with this one as I was hoping that they would. So this one, unfortunately, is going to go into the C tier. I think it's worth trying if you can find it on sale, but it's not going to hold your attention or your audience's attention for too long. It's just kind of a silly game to kill some time. We're going to be putting Toilet Chronicles into the C tier. Stanley Parable is a very similar game in theory to Toilet Chronicles.
This is the story of a man named Stanley,
but done way better. This is a much longer game. Well, not a much longer game. This is a longer game. It's got a bigger story. You are trying to get out of an entire office building instead of just a bathroom, but you have an ever-present John Cleese-esque British narrator, and he is hilarious. This is an absolutely fantastic game, and because there's no gameplay mechanics to it per se, you could show this to anybody. In fact, I am desperately trying to get my wife to play this one, whether it's on stream or not. I think she'll really enjoy it, and it could be a ton of fun. I really enjoyed my time with Stanley Parable. My one issue with Stanley Parable would be that you don't really know when you're actually done. Like, the game's got a ton of different endings, whereas Toilet Chronicle felt like you just kind of died until you got the right ending. This one has a bunch of endings, and I don't really know how many there are, what I was still working towards. So I got to a point where I didn't really know where to go, what to do, or if I was done. Because there is going to be a definitive ending. There's only so many different paths you can take, albeit there's a lot of them. I did play the definitive edition for the record. This game is a ton of fun. The audience seemed to really enjoy it. The British narrator was absolutely fantastic. And if you play along with it, you can have a ton of fun with this one. I would highly recommend streaming this game. Not quite in the S tier because it is something you're only going to play probably for a couple hours, but for a one and done stream, Stanley Parable is excellent and is going to be our first A of the day. Next up, we have Little Nightmares. Now, there's a couple of different sequels to this game. I haven't played the sequels yet. I just played this little game where you're a little kid in a raincoat making your way through this horrific world, trying to survive. There's a couple little puzzles going on in this game. It wasn't as scary as I was hoping that it would be. I was hoping to get a couple of jump scares in, and that's not really the type of game that it is. But for a little puzzler game, it's actually pretty decent. I enjoyed my time with it. My audience seemed to enjoy their time with it. It is the kind of game, again, you're going to beat in a couple hours, and it's going to be kind of a one and done, or at least a one and done for a very long time. Maybe in like a couple of years, you could take a look at this one again, try it again. I am not a speed runner. Maybe that's a way you could play this one multiple times. But my audience seemed to enjoy this one. I enjoyed this one. I'm just not stoked to pick up Little Nightmares 2 or Little Nightmares 3 or continue on this journey. I'm going to say minimal storytelling to this one. And unlike some of the games we're going to be getting to, there was no like, oh man, I wonder what's going on there. It was just kind of you were presented with a story. It's just minimal. I wish that there was a bit more for me to have grasped on with this one. I mean, even Little Nightmares, I think it's in the B tier. I'm going to put it above Journey. Because I did quite enjoy this game. The puzzles were fun. I just didn't love it as much as I was hoping I would. Now, again, unlike Little Nightmares, the next two that we're going to talk about are also little indie games. They came more from, I believe, the Xbox arcade, like Xbox 360 era, but they are Limbo and Inside. Now, for Limbo, I did play it way back in the day when it was on Xbox. It was a huge hit. Everybody was talking about it, and I really enjoyed that game. Was kind of looking for an excuse to go back and playing it, and the streaming came up, and people were mentioning it. I was like, okay, well, that's a good excuse. And then somebody mentioned Inside existed, and there was originally told that it was a sequel to Limbo, and I was like, well, I loved Limbo, I should play it again and then play the sequel to it. That just makes sense. Turns out Inside is not a sequel to Limbo. It is just made by the same company, and it is similar in theme and tone, but it is not the same story. For Limbo, you are a little boy who has presumably, it doesn't really spell this out for you, but presumably you have died in some horrific way, and you are trying to find your sister in this world of death and destruction. You are going to die. Despite the fact you're dead and you are dead and you are in limbo, you're going to die a lot in this game in many, many gruesome ways. And the fact that you are a small little kid, or at least the silhouette of a kid, makes that a little bit more bearable. But it's kind of fun. Like I almost went out of my way to find different ways that I could kill this little kid. That sounds sadistic, but so be it. Limbo is an absolute classic. My audience enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. This game is definitely worth playing. I'm going to put it in the A tier. Right actually behind Stanley Parable. I think this game is fantastic and definitely worth a try. It's been out for 12 or 13 years at this point, but it still feels fresh somehow. Inside, on the other hand, even though it is a sequel to Limbo, didn't do it for me in quite the same way. Now, maybe that's because there wasn't quite the same nostalgia, because I remembered really liking Limbo. The first half of Inside, I feel like, is very, very strong. The I was gonna say second half, but realistically, it's only like the last quarter gets real weird. And I'm not gonna go further into that, and hopefully the video that we play doesn't spoil that. I just want you to experience it, and when you get there, you'll be like, oh, that's what he meant. It's a cool game. I didn't feel the same connection to it that I did to Limbo. Limbo has you wondering what is going on. Even after the credits roll, you're not 100% sure, and I've seen multiple theories online of what the story is trying to convey. Inside, I don't know that I'm walking away knowing what it's about, and I don't know that I care either. I turned Limbo off and was thinking about it for a couple of days. I turned Inside off and forgot about it. Mechanics are fine, story is fine, it just doesn't hit on quite the same level. This feels like a massive departure. I promise you it's not, but I'm going to put it lower on the list in the B tier section. I was debating putting it in C, but realistically, it is a solid game. It is fun. It just doesn't live up to its older brother. Realistically, if it wasn't related to Limbo in any way, it might even get a higher score, but because of the comparison, it makes it a little bit rougher. Next on our list is a story-based game called What Remains of Edith Finch. Now, when I say this is a story-based game, this should have been a movie. There is no gameplay here to be found anywhere. What you are a little girl walking, well, a grown woman, I should say, walking through your childhood home, which physically shouldn't be standing, but so be it. And you are going through memories of your past family members. You are the last of your family, if I remember correctly, and you are triggering memories that are making you do weird things. Like in one level, you are a cat chasing a squirrel or something. You're taking over different family members throughout the course, but none of it you're actually really doing very much. Like it is a very, very linear game where you go from A to B to C and you hear the different journal entries when you get there. There is no gameplay here. The story is not terribly engaging. This should be a movie and not a game, but even then I'm not convinced it would be a very exciting movie. I did not really care for this one, and the audience didn't really care for this one. This is going to be a fairly common theme with this list, but one of the big issues with these story-based games is you're not going to want to engage with the chat very often because you don't want to interrupt the story. Chat doesn't want to talk to you because they don't want to interrupt the story, and people who drop in like half an hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours into the stream have no idea what's going on and will leave. So it wasn't very fun for me. It didn't seem like it was fun for the audience, and it wasn't really engaging with chat. This one is our very first D tier game. If you want a cozy something to play by yourself sometime, maybe, but What Remains of Edith Finch was an absolute fail of a stream, and I'm putting it in the lowest category. Very similarly is a game called The Wolf Among Us. Now, this is a Telltale game, and I've played Telltale games before offline and thoroughly enjoyed them. They have the Walking Dead franchise, and I think I played all 3 of them. I believe there was 3 of them, and really enjoyed my time with them. They are, again, more narrative-driven, but it works. That's a bit more engaging. You actually have choices you can make, and the characters are generally well-written. So as a game, The Wolf Among Us is pretty solid, at least from that storytelling perspective. As a game to stream, it's pretty brutal. It does give you choices, but unfortunately the choices are all really timed, so you can't like poll your audience and get your audience to bring them in. You run into the same problem where the game is talking constantly and you don't want to talk over it, and any audience member who shows up 20 minutes late has no idea what's going on. So you're either constantly catching the audience up, or your audience is coming in for 5 minutes going, I don't know what's here, and leaving. Wolf Among Us is a far better game than What Remains of Edith Finch. And it's based off a comic book, so you could also just go pick up the comic book if you want to get the actual story. But unfortunately, if we're ranking these as things to stream, it is still very low on the list. If the choices didn't have timers, that might have made this significantly better, because then you can at least engage with the audience. But as is, it felt like you always had to have a controller in your hand because there were quick time events going on, choices that you have to make with a time limit. So you're always engaged in the story, but never engaged with your audience, and it made for a poor experience. However, it is still a decent game, so I'm hard to rank this one in the low C's or the high D's. I think because it failed so hard as a streaming game, I am going to put it in the D's, but that is not a reflection of the game itself. That is entirely as a streamer. In Sound Mind is a game that came out recently and was recommended to me by a fan of the show. Now, this is my first time playing this one, and it worked out incredibly well because on Mondays I only have a couple hours to stream, and each chapter in this game is a couple hours. So it worked out really, really well that I played this for I think 5 weeks in a row, and every week I would just do one chapter of it. The story is based around kind of a world-ending event, although it doesn't really explain too drastically what exactly is happening, or at least I don't remember at this point. But you are a psychiatrist, and your patients are each chapter of the game. Something horrific happens to each one of them, and you are fighting, or at least working against their spirits or their incarnations of them. It's a very weird game, but I thought it was actually really, really cool. And each chapter feels drastically different from the last one that you played, which keeps it fresh for you, the streamer, and for your audience. And I had a lot of people returning to this one. This game's actually pretty fun. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to be putting this one in the B tier, probably just behind Firewatch. It was a pretty solid little game. Still Wakes the Deep was a game that I had in my collection for a very long time, and I was just looking for the right time to play it. I was looking at the ads for this game, and it was screaming modern day BioShock to me, which admittedly it doesn't say in the commercial anywhere. That's just what I was hoping for when I was looking at the aesthetic of this game, and it really didn't deliver. The gameplay is okay, but it is one of those games where you're spending most of the time just going from A to B. There's not very many monsters. When there are, you are just kind of hiding from them. You never really get a weapon or a sense of power in this game. You are... And that's fine. Like, there are games on this list where that is also true, but at least those games bring tension and fear. This game was literally just get from A to B. Very, very rarely was there anything that was going to kill me. There's a couple of times where I fell and that killed me. There's a couple of scenes where I drowned, but like there's only like 1 or 2 scenes where there was actually a monster getting at me. I just didn't feel the tension with this game, and like the revelation that they're building towards is nothing even close to what you get in other games. Again, I'm going to reference BioShock. Like, that revelation moment is incredible that you still think of 15 years later, however old that game is. This game just didn't really hit me on that level at all. The gameplay was okay. The setting was actually probably the coolest part, stuck on this oil rig with Cthulhu monsters going on. I just wish that it was either more story driven and I was more engaged with the characters, or more action driven and I was actually having fun killing things. Kind of landed somewhere in between and kind of missed all of my expectations, unfortunately. I hear great things about this game. Maybe this is one where if I wasn't streaming it, I would have been more engaged. But I just didn't see myself grabbing onto this game, and unfortunately it's going to land itself in the C tier. That is Still Wakes the Deep, coming in at the bottom of our C's. Now, the picture's pretty small here, but the next game we're talking about is Mouthwashing. I'd heard a lot of buzz about this game, but not really looked into it whatsoever, and based off the front screen, I was kind of expecting a horror game. Now, while the story in this game is horrific, it's not at all what I was expecting. There's no tension in this game. There's maybe one scene where you had a little bit of like a, oh crap, I might die here. But for the most part, this is the definition of a walking simulator. You are stuck in a spaceship and you are just going from crewmate to crewmate to crewmate to listening to what they have to say. I know that people dissect this story. I know there have been a lot of articles and video and vlogs about this. My niece is in love with this game and all the different things it says. I don't care. I didn't care about any of it. The story didn't engage with me. There's no gameplay to speak of whatsoever. It is literally go talk to this person missions for 4 hours before the game ends. That's it. Just go talk to Sally. Oh, you're done talking to Sally? Cool. She's going to tell you to talk to Bruce. Oh, Bruce is done talking? Okay, go take a look at Kevin. Oh no, Kevin's not there. Ah, where did Kevin go? Stupidest game I've ever played. That's not quite true. I've played worse, but it was really rough, and we saddled through it because of how short it was, but this game was crap. I'm putting it, I'm gonna put it below Edith Finch, because honestly, like, at least Edith Finch, I could tell what they were trying for. Mouthwashing just left me so incredibly cold. I'm gonna get hate comments for that one. I know I am, but I really didn't care for it. Hades is a roguelike game, and I hate roguelike games, but I like Hades. I think it's because you actually do get a sense of progression. And I'm sure people are going to yell at me that a lot of roguelites have progression systems, but the ones that I have played did not. In Hades, you start from the beginning every single time, and the world is different every time, so you have to learn and adapt on the fly. I realize I'm explaining to you what a roguelike is, but maybe some people don't know. The difference is you can upgrade your character so that your next playthrough, you're stronger. Again, now I'm explaining to you what upgrades are. I can't believe this is happening. But something about this makes Hades feel like a different experience each time, which definitely increased my interest in it. I actually enjoy this game quite a bit. I do have the second one, although I haven't spent very much time on it, and I didn't stream it whatsoever, so it didn't make it on this list. I am not terribly far in Hades. I have never beaten it. I've made it, I think my best run got me to the last boss of the 3rd level, but honestly, that was just because of incredible luck with some of the pickups and items that I found along the way. I really enjoy this game. I want to spend a lot more time with it, but as of right now, I haven't. I think this game is legitimately solid. I don't know how often I'll get this one on streaming, but once I'm done with like a couple of the games I want to play on my stream deck, this is probably going to be one of the games I play before bed for like 45 minutes or an hour before I pass out. This might fill that role really nicely. As a streaming game, it's fine. The audience seems to enjoy it. They can kind of help you make choices along the way because they're not really under time limits. But the gameplay is so fast and furious, you're not going to be paying a whole lot of attention to your chat as you are just button mashing and trying desperately to stay alive in bullet hell situations. I really like this game. I am stalling because I'm not quite sure where to put it. I think it's going to go at the bottom of the A list. I feel like that's where Hades belongs. You know what? It's got replayability for days. It might go at the top of the A list. It's a solid game. I really have enjoyed my time with that one. Gris is the first game from Inayah Studio, means gray in French or Spanish, depending on which one you look it up. And this is the story of a woman going through some grief. We're not really sure through the storytelling whether or not it's she lost a mother, daughter, sister, sibling, friend, whatever it is, but it is definitely a woman dealing with her grief. The story is absolutely, well, the story is non-existent per se. It is entirely done through art, the tones of the story, the music, but you do get a sense of what is happening. The world starts off gray, or at least colorless, and as you progress, it's almost like you're progressing through the different stages of grief. You'll come to the next level and it'll turn red. Now, not the entire world will turn red, just like certain objects will add red to it. When you get to the next level, it'll turn blue, and you'll have blue and red as well as the gray undertones. And then you kind of get to the point where your world has color again, and the woman's life has meaning again, and you're building her back up from this place of horrible devastation up to the point where she's kind of come to acceptance. It is an absolute, I'm not giving this any justice, by the way, I'm butchering this, but it is an absolutely gorgeous work of art. It is not much of a video game. You cannot die in this. There's no fights. There's no bosses. You will literally succeed as long as you keep pressing forward. There are some puzzles, so you might get stuck for a little bit. But other than that, if you continue playing this game, you will beat this game. If you are a hardcore gamer, this one's probably not going to be for you unless you really want to engage with the story. But there are going to be a lot of people who are going to engage with this story and come away with something. This definitely invokes a whole lot of feelings. And in fact, I was crying on stream by the end of this one. Totally unabashedly. This game was absolutely beautiful. It blew me away. I don't know if I'll ever play it again, but I would gladly watch somebody play it. Like if I could convince my wife or one of my kids to play this one, I would probably sit there and talk about it with them before, during, and after, and I would thoroughly enjoy that experience. I don't know if I'll ever go back to this one though. However, the audience got into this one. I got into this one. It was a once in a lifetime experience. I can't imagine not putting Gris, however you pronounce it, in the A category. I am going to put it a little bit lower in the A category because, again, I don't see myself ever playing this again. But as a one-time experience, this game was absolutely phenomenal and earns its spot in the A tier. Now, Neva is the second game from Inayah Studio and is, in fact, how I heard about Gris in the first place because it was up for some Game of the Year awards. The gameplay in Neva is far more advanced and is actually a little bit more what you'd expect from a video game where you can die, there's bosses, you have health, things like that. The story is maybe not quite as powerful as Gris, which is a little bit surprising considering there's actual dialogue in this game. Not much, but a little bit. The game is beautiful. The story is beautiful. You will make an emotional connection with your wolf, the wolf thing called Neva. I just didn't, maybe it was because I played them back to back. I didn't connect this one as strongly as I did with Gris. I still think it's an absolutely phenomenal game and definitely worth your time. If you enjoyed Gris, if you like that artistic style, this one's going to tick a lot of boxes for you. If you are looking to kill things a la Call of Duty, or if you're looking for a Metroidvania, not so much. But for what it is, this game is absolutely beautiful and definitely worth taking a look at. I'm putting Neva in the B tier. I'll put it above. Yeah, I think it goes kind of right in here. Not quite as fun or engaging as In Sound Mind, but I liked it more than Little Nightmares and Inside. So I think mid B tier is a pretty good place for this one. Solid little game. Next on the list is the absolute legend Portal. This one came out almost 2 decades ago and is an absolutely incredible game. I think I played it for the first time on the Xbox Live Arcade. Loved it, played through multiple times, won every achievement, didn't touch it for a while, picked it up again on Steam, and streamed this game. I loved it. My audience loved it. We brought in new people. This game is a classic in every sense of the word. And there's nothing I'm really going to be able to tell you about this that you probably don't already know. It is a first-person puzzle game where you make portals. You go through the portals to get to the ending. You're trying to escape a complex. Just for the one person out there who's never heard of it, pick this game up. If you've never played Portal, I cannot recommend heavily enough. Play Portal. It is absolutely worth it. We did technically play Portal 2 on the stream as well, but we only played the co-op and we only played it for about 40 minutes, so I didn't put it on this list. But Portal is going to be in the S tier. If I had to put Portal 2 in, it would probably be in the A tier. It is a solid game. I just didn't get to play enough of it recently enough to give it a true score. Next up, we have a game that's going to piss some people off. It is the 2024 Game of the Year contestant, Black Myth Wukong. I didn't know anything about this game walking into it. I literally only have it because it came free with my brand new graphics card. It was given to me and I was like, sure, I'll give this a try. I do not like, sorry, that's not true. I have never played most of the FromSoft games, but I know that they don't interest me because I don't want to be that heavily punished when playing a video game. I played Elden Ring. It gave me the sense of exploration. I'll give it that. Black Myth Wukong, there was no exploration. It was literally you just walk 10 feet, fight a boss, walk 10 feet, fight a boss, walk 10 feet, fight a boss. I played it for like an 8-hour stream. We made it, I don't know, probably about an hour into it because I'm really terrible at these games. And I just was so insanely bored with the experience. The audience did seem to like it. Watching me die over and over again for whatever reason was really cathartic to my audience. So there's that. So as a streaming game, I think it was probably a decent one. But for me, it was an absolute failure. I really didn't enjoy my time with this one, and I never went back to it, nor do I think I'm going to. Now, some people are going to argue that I also don't know the myth of the Black Myth Wukong. So there's definitely some aspect there that I'm just not getting an appreciation from, and they're absolutely right. But for a first-time player of this game, I just didn't enjoy my time with it. Stream did, so if you want to stream this one, it's probably a pretty good one. But for me, I didn't enjoy this one. I will put it higher up than some of the other games, probably higher up than you'd expect me to put it, simply because it did engage the audience. So from that aspect, it was a win, but it didn't engage me. So from that aspect, it's a loss. I'm going to put it in the low C category. Black Myth Wukong is going to go, I think I'm going to put it just above Still Wakes the Deep. It's an incredibly, for the record, I recognize it's an incredibly well-made game, and it's a skill issue on my part. So I know people are going to yell in the comment, oh, get good, nerd. No, I don't have the kind of time for that. I've got way too much other stuff going on. If you enjoyed it, that's amazing. The game looks incredible. It plays really well, just is not for me. Next up, we have Doom the Dark Ages. Now, this is a game that I was very hyped about. I really enjoyed Doom and Doom Eternal. Those were both great games. Not ones that I streamed, but games that I really thoroughly enjoyed. This was free on Xbox Game Pass, so I hooked my Xbox up to my computer to play this one, and thank goodness I did, because this is not a game that I wanted to pay $70 for. It was okay, is probably the best thing that I can say about it. There's nothing wrong with this game. It was just incredibly lackluster. Technically, it added new things, so I can't say that it doesn't change the Doom vibe at all. It added some new things with your shield, with the green monsters that you can ricochet things back at, with the dragon you can ride, and with the gigantic mech suit. The problem was none of those things were fun. I don't know who didn't get the memo over at id Software. Games are supposed to be fun. And like, for a game this chaotic and this nonsensical, it should have been an absolute riot. And it just wasn't. It was just dull. My audience was around hanging out with me, but not really engaging with the gameplay. I didn't even hate this game. Like, it wasn't bad. It's not poorly made necessarily. It's just one of those games where like I put the controller down and literally forgot about it. Not even like I hate this game, putting it down angrily. I just forgot I owned it. I had access to it. I might still have access to it. I don't care. This one fails pretty hard for me, which is really unfortunate because I was legitimately looking forward to it. It is competently made, so I can't put it in like the bottom rung. Actually, maybe I can. Maybe it can just be at the very top of the bottom rung. Doom the Dark Ages is going to land at the very top of the D tier. It's just dry. I just have no desire to finish this game. And nobody in chat ever asked me to play it ever again. So I think it failed on both sides. Alien Isolation is next, and there's something kind of interesting with this one. One, the way the alien moves around is actually directed by two different AI systems. One that knows where you are at all times, and one that is directing how the alien sees and perceives its world. And it kind of gauges that to measure how the alien can do based off of you, which means every time you or anyone plays this game, the alien will act differently, which I think is super cool. The problem with this game is we were doing the Alien franchise on R rating, and one of my co-hosts started playing this game right at the same time on stream that I did, and I kind of backed away from it, letting him play it, and he just got through it and beat the entire game. And since our audiences share a lot of the same members, I just decided I didn't want to compete with him. So I put it on the back burner to return to later, and I still haven't returned to it, and it's been almost a year at this point. That is not a tick against this game. What I played of this game was incredible. I'm just explaining why I didn't get very far into it. So I think Alien Isolation is a solid little game. I am still looking forward to getting back to it. I just haven't had a chance to yet. And the way that this game works is so unlike anything else that I'm aware of, at least in the horror genre, that I have to put it relatively highly, despite the little amount of time that I have played with it. I'm giving Alien Isolation a B. And when I finish this game, that might go up. In fact, if we play this on stream, this could be part of the tier list next year as well. So you have to come back next year to find out where exactly this one's going to land once we're done with it. Like and subscribe. Right here, right now, though, I'm going to be putting it in the B tier. I'm going to have to put it pretty low in the B tier just because of how little of it that I've played. But that is not my indication of how solid of a game it is, because I did enjoy the gameplay. I just am not very far into it yet. Don't Scream was a game we actually played last year during the anniversary. This is a game where your microphone is live and you are in a woods for 18 minutes. You have to survive for 18 minutes with an actual clock counting down, and if you make any noise, the microphone will pick up and you die. That's a really cool concept, and the game was like $1.50, so I figured this will be a great one for the stream. It was kind of an ASMR stream while we were playing it. The jump scares in this one are fairly well done until you realize you can't get hurt. The only way to die in this game is to make noise. Once I figured that out, all of the scares in this game just evaporated, and I was left bored. So then making it to the 18-minute mark was incredibly easy. You could explore the forest all you wanted. Things would come at you, and I would just run straight at them, knowing that they couldn't hurt me. If they remake this game or make a sequel or do something where you are being chased and hunted by something that can actually physically damage you, so you got a life bar and any noise you make takes away from your life bar, I would be so in. Because the jump scares in this were good, the graphics were fine. It looks, I mean, it's an indie game. The graphics look like they're going to look for an indie game, but like I wanted to love this one. And unfortunately, once you figure out the mechanics, it fell so flat for me. I enjoyed maybe the first 10 minutes, and then once we figured it out, we did the 18-minute runtime and no problem at all. I have to put this one pretty low on the list, unfortunately, simply because it just didn't work for what it was. I still think it was a better experience than the story-based games. You know what? That's not fair. I'm going to put it below Wolf Among Us because I think Wolf Among Us is legitimately a well-made game. It just didn't work for streaming. Don't Scream is not a very well-made game, but it's a great concept. It is a great first game. Make a sequel. Make you have health. I will play it on day one. Next, we have two games that I'm going to review together, although I'll give them different scores, because they are both games that I played really back-to-back. They are both from the same studio. They're both from the actual same person. The studio is a one-man team, which is pretty impressive for how solid these games are. It is Supernormal and Supernatural. Supernormal, both of the games have you as a detective investigating paranormal activities in a haunted house. Supernormal has you looking into the activities of a little girl who was murdered, you assume, and trying to discover what exactly happened. Maybe it was because this is the first time playing this style of game. Maybe it was because of the little girl. I don't know. But this one freaked me out, and I got a lot of solid jump scares from the audience and from the game on this one. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with this one. The audience seemed pretty engaged. I was pretty engaged. Now, I'll admit, some of the puzzles in this game get incredibly repetitive. And similar to the last one, Don't Scream, you can't. No, that's not true. You can die. You can't get hurt. You are either alive or dead. It is binary. But you can die, and that does keep you kind of tense in this one. Unfortunately, some of the puzzles do get pretty repetitive, where it's just like, go here and do this, then go here and do this. But it is a small little haunted house. It doesn't take long to get anywhere. And again, the microphone is live in this one, not so that you can't scream, but actually so that you can interact with the little girl. That did make it a little bit tougher for me to talk to my audience, because sometimes I'd be talking to the audience and she would get mad at me for making so much noise. That was actually kind of part of the fun of this one. I really enjoyed my time with Supernormal. Now, Supernatural, unfortunately, dealt with a grandmother. I think the story was a bit better flushed out. You had a better understanding of what exactly happened, but I just wasn't creeped out by her in quite the same way. She didn't have the same unfluid motion that the first girl did or something. And while I did still get a couple of jump scares from both me and the audience, I just didn't enjoy this game quite as much. Still a fun little game for what it is. Don't get me wrong, both these games are like 2 hours or less with only very, very minimal different endings. So you're really only going to play this like once, but they're both pretty cheap. And if you're just looking for a scary time, they're pretty fun. I'm going to put Supernormal in the top of the B tier, behind Firewatch, and Supernatural a little further down on the B tier, behind Alien Isolation. No, behind Journey. Yeah, behind Journey. That feels right. All right, we are in full swing with the horror portion of this list, and we're going to talk about Dead Space. Now, Dead Space is a game that I originally played on the Xbox and didn't really get all that far into it. I enjoyed it, but I only rented it and only played it for a couple of days. Never ended up picking it up or finishing it. So when the remake came on sale on Steam, I decided to pick that one up, and we played that one actually as well during the anniversary. That's what kept me awake for a good chunk of the night on my second anniversary. The beginning to this game is rock solid. It is super fun. You feel tense. You feel isolated. You are basically alone on this derelict ship. You're getting a lot of Alien vibes. You're getting a lot of Event Horizon vibes. This game is super cool. There is a point in this game where all of a sudden you start becoming overpowered, and that's where the game started to lose me, and it kind of became longer and longer and longer between gaming sessions for me, to the point where the last boss is just I don't even remember what it is. It's a giant demon. It's something huge that you're fighting that is like kaiju sized, and I could not have cared less. I did it so that I could say that I beat the game, but like I was so checked out by that point. Once you get to that feeling of immense power and none of the monsters are really scaring you or able to hurt you all that much, the game loses a lot of its luster. But for the first 3/4 of this game, it is rock solid. The audience seemed to really enjoy it. Mostly, again, they like to watch me die and scare me, so there's that. But the tense feeling of isolation was really strong in this one, even while streaming. And I can't imagine if you were playing this one off stream, like just yourself in the dark, it would probably freak me right out. Maybe freak me out a bit too much, to be, if I'm perfectly honest. I really enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed 3/4 of this game, let's say. I'm going to be putting this one in the top of the B tier. This is going to outmatch Firewatch finally and put it right there at the top. Dead Space is the top of our B list. Resident Evil 2, the remake. Now, this is one that I did play all the way through back in the N64 days, because I didn't have it on PlayStation. And yes, this game was on N64. You can look it up. I've had some people question me about that one. I don't think I only ever played as Leon. So I played this one through as Leon somewhat recently and really enjoyed my time with it. All the way through, I'm going to say. It does have kind of the same problem with Dead Space, where like the ending gets so ridiculous that you check out a little bit, but at least the action is tense all the way through. I never felt overpowered in this game. Maybe again, that's a skill issue. But I was definitely still dying quite a bit all the way through this one, always running low on ammo. Really had quite a hard time with that Mr. T fight at the end. That doesn't sound quite right. Not Nemesis, but that character. If you've played this game, you know what I'm talking about. That fight, I had a hard time with Leon. I am currently working my way through the Claire portion of the story. I'm a little bit disappointed how much it mirrors Leon's story. I was hoping that it would be like two adjacent storylines that like meet every now and then. And instead it feels like it is like the same storyline that kind of branches off here and there. It's a little unfortunate. Mr. X, thank you so much, chat. It's a little unfortunate. I was hoping it'd be a bit more drastically different. And in fact, we just, spoilers maybe, made it to the orphanage, which is a drastic change. So that's nice. Maybe the game will start branching out more. But the police station feels very, very similar to the time that it did with Leon. However, I've been thoroughly enjoying my time with this one. And I'm going to be putting it at the bottom of the A tier. That's Resident Evil 2, the remake, at the bottom of A tier. Next, we have Outlast, which was another game recommended to me by the audience. This is a game that I did play on Xbox, and I did not care for it. You can call me whatever you want to at this point, because it scared me too much. I was playing this one alone in my basement, and it was no longer fun for me. I was getting too invested. This is a game where you are playing a reporter investigating some things going down at a psychiatric hospital, which has been completely overrun by the patients, and including a superpowered patient. And all you have is a camera. You have no weapons in this game. I don't think ever. I think you are only ever using your camera to take photos and stuff like that, and a flashlight to just see where you're going. The tension is so incredibly high, again, especially at the beginning of this. All these horror games seem to have a common theme, which is by the ending, it either gets so silly or you get so overpowered that you kind of check out. But at the very beginning of this game, I thought that it was so intense that I couldn't play it solo. Now, playing it on stream was better. I had, ironically, more jump scares because the audience has the ability to jump scare me, but at least I had somebody to talk to take me out of it if I had to pause and just kind of calm my nerves a little bit. We even played this one with a heartbeat monitor for a little while. That was silly. Heartbeat got a little up there a couple of times. I enjoyed this game more than I thought I was going to. I bought it to appease an audience member, and I ended up really enjoying it. I do have the second one. We haven't played it yet. We'll get to it at some point. Outlast, I think, pretty deservedly lands in the B tier. I'm going to put it below In Sound Mind. Actually, I'm going to put it below Neva. I really liked Neva. Next on the list, this was recommended by I've said this a couple of times, this was recommended by another fan. However, I found out after the fact the fan had never played the game. He just heard about it and thought it sounded interesting. This is The Quarry, which is a relatively new game. I'm using the term game incredibly loosely. This is not even a movie. This is a CW television show. This should have been like 6 episodes or 10 episodes on the CW. This is about a bunch of campers at a camp when werewolves attack. Which right off the bat kind of sounds mildly interesting. However, there is not a single jump scare in this game. There is nothing scary in this game. There is no gameplay in this game. It has tank controls. The acting is wooden. And from the very first episode, well, late in the first episode, because like for the first little bit, you're expecting the gameplay to take over. You're like, wow, this is a really long intro. It is not a really long intro. The entire game is just that bad. I don't know if I'm getting it quite across. I hated my time with The Quarry. My audience seemed to hate their time with The Quarry, but I kept pushing through because I wanted to make the story-based things into chapters. And by the time I got done, I hated it so much, I just gave up on that even. So I never made this into YouTube videos. It was just an awful experience for me, for the audience, probably for the actors making it, probably for the people who wrote the game. Like, I don't know who this game is for. Again, using that term super lightly. It was poorly written, poorly acted, no fun. I'm just ragging on it hard at this time. This is the absolute bottom of my D tier. If I could make an F, I would. Don't ever touch this. And if you've got an argument for why this is a good game, I would love to hear it in the comments below, but I'm going to disagree with you pretty heavily. Even, they argue, or they don't argue, they advertise this game has 184 different endings. No, it doesn't. What it has at the very end are not cutscenes, sorry, that would have been something. It has cue cards that just say like, Beth died, Sam lived, Sam died. It's just like, what? Like, there's no way, from my understanding, I've looked it up on YouTube and whatnot, there is no way to get an ending where you get the cast back together and they're talking about their experience like, oh man, can you believe this happened? Oh, that was crazy. No, you fight the last werewolf, spoilers, and you kill it, or at least I did. And that's it. It just kind of fades to black and then comes back to be like, Sam lived because they were hiding here. Kevin died because he was bitten by a werewolf. And it's like the most unsatisfying ending to anything I've ever had, especially after as much time as you're supposed to put into this thing. And they want you to play it multiple times to get 184 different endings. Piss right off. The Quarry is the worst thing we've played on stream, at least the worst thing that we played for any amount of time on stream. It is the bottom of the D tier. Don't touch it. All right, we're going to transition from our horror-based games into our multiplayer games with a couple of horror-based multiplayer games. Dead by Daylight is a game that came out 9 years ago, which I know because we just got done with the 9th year celebration, which is when I played it for the very first time. You get to play as either one of 4 survivors who are trying to turn on generators to open up the door so that you can escape the little map, or the hunter who is hunting them down. There are characters in this franchise from there are characters in this game from other franchises, which is super cool. So you can play as like Ghostface Killer. You can play as the Xenomorph. You can play as Count Dracula from Castlevanias. That was my personal choice. You can play as Nemesis. You can play as Claire or Leon from Resident Evil. You can play as Ash from the Evil Dead. Like, there's a lot of crossovers in this game, so you can kind of pick the character that you want and kind of run from there. The characters all have specific abilities, but once you get out to a high enough level, you can actually give their specific abilities to anybody and take anybody else's specific abilities. So they are like a skin, like in Fortnite, but with special parameters, which makes it really, really cool. So you can actually tailor make them to your specific characteristics. Now that's for the survivors. For the hunters, they do have characteristics that are just them, as well as traits that you can use from other hunters to kind of fine tune them. But you can't make Dracula play like Ghostface or vice versa. They are their own thing. Dracula from Castlevania was by far my favorite character because he could turn into a bat or a wolf, which reminded me of Castlevania Symphony of Night, but also because he could really do well in wolf form and hunt people down. So as a noob player, it was really, really nice to have that extra little bonus to hunt people. My issue with this game is apparently it's a multiplayer game where you're trying to kill your opponent or survive your opponent, but you're not allowed to try hard. Every time I played this game and I actually tried to win, I got yelled at by the community and people in my chat who are like, you can't really do that. You're supposed to give them a chance. If I'm playing a multiplayer game where I'm trying to kill somebody, I'm trying to kill somebody. I don't want to have this like weird hamper on me that I'm not allowed to try very hard or I'm not allowed to do well. It can be fun once or twice where you kind of play the hunter and you just hang back and stare at them, because if you stare at them, you get stronger over time or something. But for the most part, I want to murder your face. And if I'm going to get in trouble for trying hard at a video game, that's dumb. I've had people argue with me that I have to make it like a scenario-based thing. No, I don't. No, I don't. You're an opponent. I want to kill you. I don't understand. I enjoyed my time with this one, but I think my time with this one has come to an end. However, as a streaming experience, the audience seemed to really enjoy this one, as a testament to the fact that this game is 9 years old and still has thousands upon thousands of people watching it on Twitch every single day. Every time I check this out, it's in the 20 to 40,000 range for viewers, which is incredibly impressive. And when I was playing this one, I picked up a lot of new followers, and most of them have stuck around even though I don't play it anymore, which is really cool. So I have to say, I had fun with it, although it was limited fun, and my audience seemed to have fun with it, and it seemed to be a really solid streaming game. So Dead by Daylight's going to go up pretty high, higher than I might put it because of the experience involved with it. I'm going to put it, I think it might go just behind Dead Space at the top of B. Our Bs are getting pretty full, but admittedly, you know, most games fall in the 7 range, so that kind of makes sense. Next up, and last of the multiplayer horror games, is 7 Days to Die. Now, I haven't played a ton of this one, but everything that I have played, I've really enjoyed. This is the kind of game, it's a survival horror game. It's kind of like Minecraft for adults, I'm going to say, because you can kind of build things and tear your world apart and do what you have to do. You've got 7 days where you can build up all your resources, and then after that, the zombie hordes start coming in harder and harder and harder, and it's just a matter of how long can you survive. You're gonna die. It's just a matter of when. This is a really cool game though, and my favorite thing about games like this is figuring them out for myself or figuring them out for the first time. So we played this after our rating one time with Run 7 and Cleaning Agent, and none of us had played it before, or maybe very, very, very minimally, and it was a riot trying to figure out what you're supposed to do, how to do things, how to build certain items, and not knowing what was coming next, so everything was a surprise. Now, since then, Cleaning Agent played this quite a bit, so he knows a lot of what is going on. I still enjoy playing it with him, but it doesn't quite have that sense of surprise or exploration to it that it once did, that I really enjoyed that first time. But this is a solid game, and as far as streaming goes, it does have Twitch integrations, which I wish more games would do, so your audience can really help or mess with you depending on the audience that you've cultivated. Mine likes to mess with me. This is a super fun game. It streams really, really well. The Twitch integrations keep the audience engaged. I can't imagine not putting 7 Days to Die in the A tier. Now, there's not one I've played a ton of, so it's going to go low in the A tier, but regardless, as a streaming game, this one's very, very high and one you should definitely be checking out. Marvel Rivals is a team-based hero shooter. It came out earlier this year. I was really excited for this one because I really love Marvel games, and once I started playing it, I remembered how much I hate hero shooter games. I played it for a little bit. I had fans who enjoyed it. This is just not a style of game for me, and one of those games where I don't think audience members want to watch you be bad at it. I think if you're really good at this game, you could stream it and people would really enjoy watching you be good at it. People don't really have the time to watch you be bad at it because most of this game is dying and then running from the spawn back to where you die so you can die again over and over and over again. And that got really tedious for me and for my audience. I understand that there is a huge audience for this game though, so I'm not going to say that it's a bad game to stream. It was just a bad game for me to stream. And so I'm going to be putting this one pretty low. I'm going to put Marvel Rivals in, I'm going to say the top of the D tier. Solidly made game, just not for me. Didn't do well for my stream. Get Good would solve so many problems for this stream. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to dedicate to something I'm not enjoying. I'd rather, if I'm going to get good, I want to get good at something like Silksong that I like than something like Marvel Rivals that I don't. And I will fully admit, a lot of these games are skill-based issues. That 100%. Split Fiction is the newest game from the same studio that brought us It Takes Two. It focuses around two head writers who get stuck into their own fantasy. One is a sci-fi writer, one is a fantasy writer, and so you're constantly going back and forth between their storybooks. It is an interesting concept. However, I played this with my buddy Run7, and it turns out he doesn't like stories very much, so we were often talking through the story or ignoring it or skipping it or something. So I can say that the gameplay on this one is rock solid. However, the story in this one, I can't really speak on. The parts that we did listen to honestly felt a little bit weak. And this is from somebody who really enjoyed It Takes Two. I thought that was a solid game about relationships that I would definitely go back and try again. Whereas this one, the gameplay mechanics were really fun. It was great hanging out with Run. It was great hanging out with the audience. They seemed to enjoy it. There's some comedy in there. But the story fell completely flat. Whether that's on us because we weren't paying attention to it, or whether that's on the game for the writing not being as far up as it should be, I can't really tell you. But I will say this is a fun one to experience. It's a great one to collab with. It's a great way to get your audiences mingling. So if you're playing with somebody you don't know as well, obviously Run7 and I share a lot of audience members, but if you don't have somebody like that, then maybe you can meet some new people as your audiences talk to each other. This is a great collaboration game. It was a fun streaming game. It was a solid game all around. I'm going to be putting It Split. I will say it felt short. Like It Takes Two feels a lot longer. So that was the one kind of dig. It felt like, oh, it's over? Okay, that's too bad. I'm putting it Split Fiction at the top of the B list. It was a solid all around, but it wasn't great at anything. Like it was just really, really good, but it wasn't great. Magic the Gathering Arena is something we did technically stream, so it belongs on the list. However, I've played way more Magic in both paper form and offline, or I guess online, but not on stream. I don't personally, so my issue with this game is I came back at it after a very long break, and so there's so many sets out there that I couldn't make new decks intelligently, so all I could really do was play with the old decks that I already had. Didn't make for the most engaging content. However, I think this game could be S tier if you really are heavily engaged with Magic the Gathering. This could be an incredible game to be making content for, so I can't really ding it on that one. Just from my personal experience, I have a long history with Magic. I loved Magic the Gathering at one point. I don't know that I love it at this point. I think it's a solid little game. I can't give it a bad score because Magic the Gathering Arena is so well done and it could be a really high experience. It just didn't quite scratch the itch for me or my audience when I tried to stream it. However, if I was to put some serious time into this one and really get to know some of the newer sets and stay on top of it, maybe do some drafts or something like that to get to feel more familiar with the newer cards, this one could jump up significantly. As is, I'm going to be putting it in the B tier, probably behind Firewatch. Behind Firewatch. There we go. Super solid game. If you enjoy Magic, this is one of the better ways to play it online. The only thing that I say it's really truly missing is a 4-player commander mode, which I've not heard anything about them making. But if they do, you can imagine me and 3 buddies are gonna be streaming that pretty hard and loving our lives, because that is my favorite way to play Magic, and it's not an option in this game, but it's still pretty solid. Warhammer Vermintide 2 is an absolutely amazing game where you play in the Warhammer universe in a fantasy setting, basically playing Left 4 Dead. It is a 4-player squad where you are running from point A to point B, killing everything in your path until you can complete the mission. You actually do get to level up your characters in this one, which I like quite a bit, and there are a couple of different character archetypes that you can use, so you can pick and choose based off of your team, based off what you like, to make your character the way that you want to, which I do really enjoy with this game. We didn't get super far into this one, and quite frankly, I was being carried most of the time that we were playing it, but I really liked this game, and I would love to go back to it at some point. It does have Twitch integrations in the same way that 7 Days to Die does, but most of the Twitch integrations are just spawn monsters, and there's already so many monsters being spawned that it was kind of overkill. I would love to see them also integrate a way to like help the audience or spawn good things. Maybe they did have that, but again, my audience only spawned death and destruction upon our team, so that was really tough for us. However, my time with Vermintide was short, but I really liked it. I would love to get back to it. The audience stayed engaged. The Twitch integrations really helped. I'm not going to put this quite as high as 7 Days to Die because I feel like 7 Days to Die has more variance in gameplay. You can have more choices in what you do, whereas this is really just run and gun from A to B. No guns, but you know what I mean. Run and pitchfork from A to B. So I'm going to be putting it lower than 7 Days, but not much lower. This one might be right at the top of B tier, taking over for Split Fiction at the top of B. Solid game. Super fun. Definitely worth checking out if you've got 4 friends or 3 friends. If you're playing this one solo or with randos online, I can't guarantee what your experience is going to be like, but if you're playing with friends, really fun time. Next up, we've got the brand new Borderlands 4. Now, this is a game that I picked up on day 1. Wasn't super excited by it, but did get caught up in the hype machine. I loved Borderlands 1 and 2. Didn't really care for 3. Didn't play the pre-sequel, but got swept up in the hype and picked this one up. Played it solo offline for a little bit and was kind of enjoying it. Then played it online and was just overwhelmed a little bit between having 3 different people talking in my ear, between the game never shutting up, between talking to chat and keeping up with chat. I felt like I was being dragged around and just kind of shooting at things, but I had no idea who I was shooting at or why. Again, this is a Dan issue. I totally recognize that. You might love this game, but this is bringing up reasons of why I didn't love 3 all that much. This might be one that I enjoy more solo or with like 1 or 2 close friends, but playing this one online on stream hasn't really been scratching that itch for me, unfortunately. However, the audience seems to be enjoying it. When I mention it, they get excited for it, so there's that. But for me, unfortunately, I'm going to be putting Borderlands 4 at the top of C tier. I want to like this game. I really do. I'm just not quite getting there just yet. Again, we're not that far in. This one might skyrocket or it might plummet based on more playtime with it. But right here, right now, not a big fan. And that brings us to Diablo 4. Now, I know I've got some diehard Diablo 4 fans in my audience who want to see this one ranked really highly. However, I have not engaged with this game. I loved Diablo 1 and 2. I really liked Diablo 3, and that might be a weird hot take, but I really did enjoy Diablo 3. Diablo 4, I played the demo, thought I'd really enjoy it, picked it up on day 1, didn't stream it at first, just played it by myself, and didn't engage with the storyline. And the fact that all the enemies scale with you kind of makes it feel like you're just doing the exact same thing over and over again for the entire time that you're playing it. Like when you are level 1, it takes 4 hits to kill an enemy. When you're level 20, it takes 4 hits to kill an enemy. When you're level 60, it takes 4 hits to kill an enemy. I never felt powerful in this game, which is kind of the whole point of these games. I want to wreak havoc. I want to have my golems and zombies, skeletons, whatever, running around the countryside just killing everything. And I never got to the point where I felt powerful like that. I don't know. I tried playing hardcore mode with some fans, and that was a bit more entertaining because there was that like, oh crap, I have to actually care about what's happening right now. I would definitely play it again with them at some point. But right here, right now, I'm not sure how much fun it is to watch Diablo. I'm not sure how much fun it was to play Diablo. I can't give it a super high score. I will put it higher than the D tier because I would play it again. So I think that it has to land in C tier above Black Myth Wukong, which I will not play again. That feels about right to me. But I understand that there's probably people screaming right now for that to be even higher than it is. It's just not one that engaged me. BattleBlock Theater is another Xbox 360 game, or Xbox 360 arcade game, brought to us by Behemoth Studios, responsible for Castle Crashers and other classic games. It is an absolutely silly platforming game that you want to play with another person. I played it with a friend back in the day, and we were killing ourselves laughing about this one. And so I wanted to show it to Cleaning Agent, a good friend of mine, and have a good time with him. I'm not entirely convinced the sense of humor was his style, but the sense of humor was absolutely for me. This game I think is hilarious. I love the ability to help my help my teammate or hinder my teammate. Little Freudian slip there, I guess. I think there are incredible elements where you have to work together, as well as ones where you can mess with each other, and it is just so much fun. Mr. Hattie as the antagonist is hilarious. Again, for me, it just was my sense of humor. I loved this game. I don't know how much the audience engaged with it because, quite frankly, there was an audio issue on my end. So this is before you could collaborate really easily with other people. So my entire audience was hanging out with Cleaning Agent, not with me. So I don't know how well they were engaged with it, but I really, really love this game. And I definitely think it's one worth checking out if you've got somebody else to play it with. The sense of humor is wild and wonky, but it's my sense of humor. BattleBlock Theater lands in the A tier. I'm going to put it just above Limbo. That sounds about right. We Were Here is a cooperative escape room style game where you and your teammate are in separate rooms communicating to each other through radios. It is absolutely imperative that you have a microphone and a friend to play this game with. You could play with a random online, but good luck. And if you don't have a microphone, you will not have a chance. You have to be describing things in your area. They have to be describing things in their area, and you both have to work together to figure out what the game is trying to tell you. The radio system in this game doesn't work great for us. We found some issues with that, so we ended up talking just over Discord. I played this with Miss Hillary, and we had an absolute blast on a Saturday morning. We were able to work our way through this one relatively quickly with one survivor. Sorry, Hillary. And had a great time. The puzzles are manageable but challenging, so you're going to want to make sure that you're awake when you play this one. But it is a really, really fun game. I highly, highly, highly recommend Discord over the radio system, though. Other than that, definitely give it a try. It was fun engaging with Miss Hillary. It was fun engaging with the audience. I'm going to give We Were Here. I'm going to give it a low B. I think it's going to go in kind of right there, right below Alien Isolation, right above Journey. Path of Exile 2 is in early access currently. I haven't played it in quite some time, and I know they've been doing a lot of patches. I think they've even introduced a new character since the last time I played it, so I can only speak on my time with it. Unfortunately, I think this game is more fun than Diablo 4, but runs into a lot of the same problems with Diablo 4, where it's just not that engaging to watch necessarily. I think that it's a much tougher game than Diablo 4, and so it engages me a bit more. The boss fights in this are incredible. I love the dodge mechanic. I love that it actually matters. Like the fights just feel more intense. However, I don't love the item system in this one. I know people talk really highly about it once you figure it out. I just didn't put the time into it to truly figure it out. And I kind of just want a system where I can just pick up a weapon and go, ooh, that's really cool. And not pick up a weapon and be like, oh, what can I make that into? I think Path of Exile, it's one I'm going to go back to, but not one I'm likely to go back to on stream. I'm going to put it, I mean, it's essentially the exact same as Diablo 4. It's just a matter of, does it go above or below? I think it goes, I think it's a better game than Diablo 4. But I enjoyed streaming Diablo 4 more because of the people I played it with. So I think I have to put it below, because as a streaming experience, Diablo 4 was better. But I think as a game, Path of Exile is better. Can we just trust that they're in the exact same spot? I can't actually do that, but can we just put them in the exact same spot? Like those two just are the same game. Not quite, but essentially. Space Marine 2 is a game that I was looking forward to for a very long time. I am a huge Warhammer fan, or at least I was. I used to play a ton. I used to play as the Space Marines. I got into the game in a big bad way right around the time that the first Space Marine game came out, and loved that game. Single player, multiplayer. It was one of those like, I don't want to say it was a hidden gem, because it definitely wasn't, but it's one that I feel like I was playing and nobody else that I knew was. So it was like a weird hidden gem for Dan, even though the game actually sold relatively well. Space Marine 2 I was looking forward to for quite some time, and when it came out, it blew away everybody's expectations. This game did incredibly well by feeling like an Xbox 360 game. Somehow, in 2024, they made a game that feels like a 360 game in all of the right ways. It is just a dude wrecking face, just murdering everything in front of him, and it's an absolute blast. You can play it with 2 friends in squads. You can play multiplayer against other players. You can do missions over and over again. They've introduced like a horde system that I had a good time with. This game is so much fun, and even the microtransactions / battle passes they seem to be doing right, where the battle pass, the version I got at least, came with the battle pass. And the battle pass lasted like the entire year. I think I can still earn things towards that battle pass as opposed to it like disappearing like Fortnite's and it's just gone forever. I can't say enough good things about Space Marine 2. I had an absolute blast with it. I would love to go back to this game at almost any time. I don't really have anything negative to say about it. And the fun thing about streaming this game is I am not a Warhammer expert by any stretch, but I know enough about the lore that I can kind of talk to the audience about them and tell them what's going on and like what they're looking at and stuff like that. So people can show up who know about Warhammer and we can have a conversation. People can show up who don't know about Warhammer and I can kind of give them a little bit of insight into the universe. It is a very dark universe, but it's super cool and I really enjoyed my time with it. I don't think I can quite put this one in S tier, but I'm going to skyrocket it to the top of A tier. Space Marine 2 is a solid video game. Next up, we have Fortnite. Fortnite is a game that I've had a bit of a history with. I started playing Fortnite during the pandemic, as did everybody I knew. So I used to play this with squads constantly, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. My first season in Fortnite was the first Marvel season with this game, and I really, really loved the game back then because I could start almost any time of the day and have a squad of 4 to play around with, and it was a great time. Over the years, that squad of 4 has dwindled to a squad of 1 or 2, which has kind of hindered my experience with the game. And the last time I played this game on stream was during the most recent Star Wars event where there were only blasters, and I did not care for it whatsoever. And I turned it off pretty quickly after that one. I think it's a solid game to play. I think your ability to stream this game goes up exponentially with your skill with this game. At one point, I would have said that I was a good Fortnite player. I no longer think that of myself, mostly because I've seen other good players and also because I've played the game significantly less. I don't know how engaged my audience is with this one. And it feels like it has a wonderful history and just not much of a future with me. I can't rate it poorly though, because I do think it's a pretty solid game. And as far as like first or third person shooter games that I would likely stream, it's still pretty high up there. Like I would still do this over Call of Duty or Battlefield or something. Call me crazy, I'm sure. That being said, that's not really, like you'll notice from the list, that's not really the genre that we play. I think it's going to go in B tier. It's just a matter of where in B tier we put Fortnite. I think it has to go in front of Little Nightmares. Does it go in front of Neva? I don't think that it does. I think Neva was a pretty fun one and done experience, a pretty incredible experience. I think this feels right. I think Fortnite belongs kind of mid B tier. Solid game. I know it gets memed on a lot. People make fun of it, but it is still a solid game. It's still a lot of fun. And it's a decent one to stream. It's just I don't necessarily have the audience for it. Or my audience doesn't appreciate it in some ways. But honestly, I think it's a pretty solid B tier. Next up, we've got a couple of games that we played exclusively with members of the Coalition. First up is the game Headliners, which came out fairly recently and has a couple of major patches already, which have changed the game, where you play as press with a camera trying to get the best photos you can of the end of the world. Now, with the world ending, I'm not exactly sure who's buying newspapers, but just go with the premise of the game and actually have a pretty good time. You can play this with up to 8 different players, and the more people, the better. Your characters can die, and that can kind of lead to an unfortunate situation where you might have to wait up to 5 minutes because you're only allowed to be on the ground for so long. And that can be a little frustrating. But once you're dead, you can talk to the other dead members and kind of like make fun of the other streamers that you're playing with. When we played this, we had 8 different people, and all of them were streaming the game at the same time, which was just absolute chaos in the best possible way. I really enjoyed my time with Headliners. Unfortunately, I don't know how much longevity this game has. Each match starts to feel incredibly samey, and even though they do introduce new matches, it still feels like you're always playing on the same 2 or 3. I think this game in like a year, if they keep patching it and keep adding to it in the way they have been, could be incredible. But right here, it still feels kind of early accessy. I think it is legitimately launched, but it feels early access. It feels like something is just missing from it. However, this one matters so drastically who you're playing it with, and the people that I play it with are incredible. So that makes it super fun when you're playing, I'm going to say 5 or more players. I've played it once or twice with like 2 or 3 players, and it just felt so dry. I think it's worth trying. But again, you know you. Do you have a good gaming group? Do you have a large amount of people you can play with? That's going to be the deal breaker on this one. For me, if I can get a couple people to play this one, it's a great time. I'm going to be putting it in the B tier, but I can't stress enough, most of that is based off the people that I play it with and not the game itself. Very fun game to stream because of my group of friends. I'm going to put it behind Firewatch, but in front of Magic the Gathering. Peak is a game that came out very recently where you are trying to climb a mountain. In the actual game, you can only play it with 3 other friends. You can have a team of 4. However, there are patches out there where you can have, I believe, up to 20 different people, and you can have Twitch integration, not through the main game itself, but through extensions, which do add to this game. I still have nightmares about the amount of times they've thrown magic beans into my hand when I'm trying to make a jump or start climbing up a hill, and I'm just all of a sudden holding something that I wasn't supposed to be holding. The game is absolutely ridiculous, incredibly fun, but again, going to matter drastically the people you're playing it with. If you've got a squad that you can play this with and you can have a good time with, you're going to have a great time. But playing this solo or with randos on the internet, I can't vouch for that. I don't think it'd be very fun. I'm not even going to bother trying it. I think Peak is a solid game with the people that I've played it with. I'm going to be putting it into the A tier. I really enjoy this one. I'm going to put it above Resident Evil, but below, well, no, I'm going to put it above Gris. Because of the amount you could, like, this game feels like one you could be playing a lot. The mountain regenerates, I think, every day, so it's never the same, which is super handy, but it always feels like the mechanics stay the same, which is helpful. The audience integration is something the game should definitely accept as part of their main thing, so you don't need a separate download for that or a mod for that. And I think 20 might be a bit high, but 4 is too low. 8 would be good for this game. Like, having 8 people play this game would be great. My biggest knock on Peak is when you die, without the Twitch integration, because the Twitch can heal you, but without that, you could be dead for 20 plus minutes. And that's insane. Even if you start at the bottom of the map and it's hard to get anywhere, at least you should be allowed to play and do something, as opposed to just being this weird sperm ghost thing floating around the mountainside talking to your friends. At least there's that, so you can still communicate with people. But I died early in this game one time, and I was sitting there live on stream doing nothing. And there was nothing I could do about it, and that was brutal. But if you can stay alive, super fun game. And the tension's really high, so it's good. Peak lands in the A tier. And the last of our multiplayer games before we get into our Metroidvania portion of the list is Sunderfolk. Now, this is kind of a D&D style game. For all my board gamers out there, if you know what Gloomhaven is, that is essentially what this game is. You have one person who owns the game, and they can play it on the main screen, and then everybody else can just log in on their cell phone and play it looking at the main screen and then playing on their cell phone. It's a really cool concept. It's a great way of having everybody be engaged without everybody having to buy a copy of the game, so it makes it more likely that your gaming group will get it. However, it is supposed to be a couch co-op game as opposed to a streaming game. It still worked just fine for the people playing the game. However, for the people watching the game, you couldn't tell what the people were doing on their cell phones. They had to kind of try and explain what was going on, and so I think that left it a little bit dry. Also, the storyline could have been really fun, but it doesn't give you enough time to read what they're saying. It felt like it was going very, very quickly for the reading, as opposed to where you could skip past it, which could have given a chance for people in your group to do silly voices or a chance to act out a little bit. And instead, we were barely reading what was being said in our normal voices before it was gone. A little bit of a miss on the game on that one, but again, it's not meant to be a streamed game. It is meant to be a couch co-op game. As a game, I think it could be very solid. As a streaming game, it fell apart, unfortunately, pretty quickly. We did have fun with this one for the 3 or 4 weeks that we played it, but that gaming group fell apart because I just don't think the audience was having very much fun with this one. I'm going to put it in the C tier, but I think it's got potential, so I'm going to put it in the high C tier. Sunderfolk is the top of the C list above Borderlands 4. Making our way into the Metroidvania list in no particular order, we are starting off with Hollow Knight. Now, Hollow Knight is a game that I played back in, I'm going to say 2019 on the Nintendo Switch. I enjoyed it. I played it on a night shift for about an hour and a half or so. I think that I beat the false knight or the fake knight, if you know the game very well. and then I put it down and completely forgot about it. I remember enjoying it. I just moved on. Skip forward a little bit till 2023, I believe it was, and I was convinced to play it when I started streaming and had a great time. Audience was heavily engaged, but that's not the list we're talking about because that was 2023. That was before the anniversary. However, in the 2-week period between when Silksong was announced and when Silksong came out, I decided I'd give Hollow Knight another try. Played it on stream again, and as much as I liked it the first time, enjoyed it heavily the second time, I am obsessed with it right now. I haven't played it on stream since Silksong came out, but it has been my go-to Stream Deck game ever since, and I'm getting darn close to 112%ing this thing. The audience seems to really enjoy it. It brings in new audience members, which is always a wonderful thing. I have an absolute blast with this game. There's not enough good things I can say about Hollow Knight. One of the great things for this game being a streaming game is if you want to get into the lore and deep dive on this one, there is a deep dive of lore in this game. However, it doesn't beat you over the head with it, and most people only have 1 or 2 lines of dialogue at most. So for streaming this game, it is constant gameplay. They're never bogged down with cutscenes, at least not very long ones. You're not bogged down with conversations. You are just going from the start to the end, and it is super fun to watch. The platforming, the combat, everything about this game is amazing. There's nothing I can really say negative about it. This game, unsurprisingly, is the very top of the list, and well-deserved for Hollow Knight. Next up is Guacamelee. Now, I played the Super Turbo Championship edition of this game. It was my first time playing it. This is a very different Metroidvania. It's super bright and colorful, which I really enjoyed, where you were playing a luchador trying to get your, I believe, girlfriend back from the devil or something like that. It's been a minute since I played it. The storyline is nonsensical. The fact that you are a Mexican luchador running around body slamming and suplexing your enemies sounds dumb. But when I tell you this is maybe the most fun I've ever had in a Metroidvania combat, I'm not lying. I don't know how to say. It is such a bright game, such a colorful game, such a funny game. The combat, the Metroid, the upgrades are a little bit low. Like, it's got some and it's fun, and you can tell exactly, like, by the colors of the walls which special attack you're supposed to use to break them, which is super handy. But I never really felt the need to go backtrack all that much, as opposed to some Metroidvanias like, say, Hollow Knight, where you were constantly backtracking to make sure that you found everything. This game felt more linear than that, with the ability to go back if you really wanted to get all the collectible items. My audience had a great time with this one. I had a great time with this one. Guacamelee was super fun. I own the second one and I haven't got around to it yet, but I promise you it's coming soon, and I'm hoping it'll be even better than this one. Guacamelee is going to be in the A tier, just in front of Hades, actually. I really enjoyed my time with this game. It is relatively short. I think we banged it out over 2 Saturday morning sessions, but honestly, just a phenomenal game. Castlevania Symphony of the Night is a game that I did not play when it first came out in 1997, I believe it was, on the PlayStation 1.
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets.
In fact, I didn't play it until it came out on the Xbox 360 arcade, and even then, I only played it for about 40 minutes. I did not get into this game when I first played it. I decided to take this channel in a different direction, be more Metroidvania focused, and I figured I love Super Metroid, I love Metroidvanias, I have to play at least one game in the Vania side of things. And so I decided to play Castlevania Symphony of the Night on stream when I had a week off from work, when the family was away. I was like, okay, I can dive deep into this game. And the exact same thing happened. I got 40 minutes into this thing and I was dreading it because I'd hyped this up and people were excited for it. I was just not engaged with this game whatsoever. Somewhere around the hour and a half mark, though, a light bulb went off in my head, or a switch flipped or something, and I started getting really into this one. And I don't know what exactly it was. I couldn't pinpoint an exact moment in the game that happened, but at some point I became invested in this game and I played it all the way through until the very end. Now, I didn't go for the 200.6% achievement, which is just a dumb percentage rate, but whatever. But I did play through this one all the way through. I am looking forward to going through this one again. I fully understand now why this one is a classic. The atmosphere, the music, the gameplay, all top notch. Maybe not the voice acting. The voice acting was a little bit rough, but it's from 97. We'll give them a pass. Castlevania Symphony of the Night, I'm really struggling with not putting it in S. it just feels like an A tier, but I don't know. It might be the bottom of the S tier. Yeah, I'm gonna put it in the bottom of the S tier. We might change that at some point, but right here, right now, I can't think of anything really negative to say about it. Absolute classic for a reason. Gato Robato is a silly little game where you play a cat in a mech suit in black and white Game Boy graphics. You're either in or you're out right now. Like, you're either like, yeah, that sounds like a good time, or like absolute pass. The comedy in this one's really good. The storyline's kind of funny. You are trying to save the captain of your ship, which is stuck in a wreck, by getting into this mech suit and exploring this planet. Hijinks ensue. You're attacking rats and other such things. It's a solid Metroidvania, but it is incredibly short. This is only like a 4-hour long video game. So if you just want something to dink around with for an afternoon, great game. Really, really solid. But you're not going to get more out of that. Like, when I say it's a 4 hours, I feel like it's like 100% in 5 hours. Like, it is very, very small, but it's charming. It's cute. It's fun. I'm gonna put it in the B tier. It's not quite A tier material, but it's gonna go pretty high in the B tier. I think we're gonna put it above Magic the Gathering. That is Gato Robato coming in between Headliners and Magic the Gathering Arena in the B tier. Next up is Worldless, which is a little Metroidvania where you play, I don't know, a star constellation. It is a really weird little game. There is not much story to it. There's not much world to it, and ironically, considering it's called Worldless. It is a Metroidvania game where your combat is done turn-based, not quite like Final Fantasy, but unlike any other Metroidvania I've ever played, where you have a attack phase and a defense phase, and you need to be kind of active in both to do your best. It is an interesting concept. It is a gorgeous looking game. It just wasn't quite my cup of tea. Now, I've heard a lot of people start mentioning this one again recently. I think it is getting a Switch / PlayStation 5 release coming soon. So maybe that's why it's kind of coming back up in conversation. This one just did not do it for me. It's one of, if not the only Metroidvania on this list that I did not finish and have no plans on going back to finish. And while it's pretty, I just don't feel like the audience was engaging with it either. Also, for a Metroidvania to not have a map or have a very, very bare bones map, I feel like is an absolute sin and kind of a massive strike against it. I'm going to be putting this one in the D tier, but it was interesting. I'm going to put it near the top of the D tier, as I might eventually go back to this one just to see if I just really got this one wrong. But it left me cold. It left me really cold, and I was looking forward to this game, and that's unfortunate. Shadow Complex was one of my favorite games from the Xbox Live Arcade era. This game came out in 2009. In fact, I actually just did a review on this game, so if you want to go check that out, I will leave a link in the description below. But for now, I'm going to tell you, I guess I'm going to spoil that review right after saying go watch it. Nostalgia glasses on, I thought this game was like a 9.5. I thought this game was the best thing on that system. I loved it, and I was looking for an excuse to play it wherever I could. So I was waiting for a sale to come up on Steam, and I found out that it never will because it's on Epic game mode, and so I don't really want to, they don't want you to buy it on Steam, they want you to buy it on Epic. I just don't ever go to Epic, I always play on Steam, so I bought it at full price over there, played through it again, thoroughly enjoyed it, but definitely noticed a couple of kinks in the armor on this one. It is not the 9.5 that I thought it was. It's still a classic. It is still an incredible game, and it came out at an incredible time for gaming and really kept the Metroidvania genre alive in 2D on home consoles at that time. So I'm not taking anything away from the game, but playing it now in 2025, it just doesn't quite do anything that you haven't seen a dozen times. And it was really painful how much of a Super Metroid clone it actually kind of is. I still give it a really high score. I still really enjoyed it. I was really wanting it to be a 9, and instead it was like, it just was a little bit lower than that. I'm gonna put it high in the B tier, maybe just behind Vermintide, just because I'm not sure how engaged the audience was with it, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Next up, we have Blasphemous. This is a game that I've actually just started playing on stream recently, and I'm going to be playing on stream over the next little while. I really want to play Blasphemous 2. I've heard good things about that one, and I want to get reviews out for these games. I'm not super far into this one so far. The art style on this one is the one that actually turned me off. Not the pixelated graphics, I'm fine with that, but just how gruesome it is, I'm going to say, or how shock value-y it seems. However, actually playing the game, I'm kind of really liking it. Kind of way more than I thought I would. I kind of wanted to play the game just to say that I did. And now that I'm actually playing it, I am really enjoying this game. And I'm actually like super excited for Blasphemous 2. I know it's already out. I already own it, but I want to beat 1 before I move on to 2. This game is, I don't know what to say about this one. I'm not far enough into it to give it a full review, but based off of what I have played and how excited I am to keep playing it, I think this one has to go in the A tier. However, I'm going to put it low in the A tier, not because it's bad, but because I haven't played that much of it yet. So Blasphemous is going in at the bottom of the A tier, and I'm going to be playing this one again in the near future. I am loving this game. Next up is Carrion. Now, this game is technically a Metroidvania in the sense that you do get upgrades and you can backtrack. However, it feels like for the most part, you are just going straight line. And while I said that having a poor map was a sin, Carrion does the ultimate sin of having no map whatsoever. Add that to the fact that all the areas look fairly similar, and this game, if you get lost, is a nightmare. Now, this is also a game where you are playing as the alien breaking out of a research facility and killing all of the human soldiers, so it's kind of a nightmare already, but in the best possible way. This game is, when it's fun, super fun. Sneaking up on human soldiers, sneaking up on scientists, hearing them scream, dismembering them, all of these things are kind of horrific, but it's hilarious because you're the monster doing it. Maybe I'm sadistic. There's a possibility that that's true. But taking an enemy soldier and literally just like banging them from wall to wall to wall to wall until they stop screaming really did it for me. The fact that you gain health by eating their corpses was really cool. This game does things you never really see in other video games, and that was really fun. Not having a map, however, and for me, I got lost for a solid 45 minutes where I was trying to find the door, and it turns out that door was like the end of the game. Like, it was literally like big red arrow, go here, game is over, and I missed it, and I was backtracking, and then I couldn't find my way back to where I was. No map to help me out, no system to help me out. Really left me frustrated. So it left with a bitter taste in my mouth, but I really enjoyed the game up until then. However, the joy of dismembering humans was something that I felt. It was not one that my audience felt, and I think this one left my stream pretty cold. So I'm going to give this one a bit of a lower list, a little bit lower score, despite the fact that I enjoyed it. I think it kind of has a major sin against it by not having a map, not really encouraging you to backtrack. In fact, actively dissuading you from backtracking. And maybe the fun is only one-sided. I'm going to give this one a high C. I'm going to give this one a mid C. I think these two games have potential, whereas I feel like I got everything I'm going to get out of Carrion. Hollow Knight Silksong came out in September of this year and is the long-awaited sequel to Hollow Knight, where you play as Hornet. This game has been in development for 7 years, and I've been looking forward to it ever since getting into Hollow Knight, which admittedly was only 2 years ago, but after playing that game, I really enjoyed it, knew that Silksong was coming, and put it on my wait list ever since. This is one of those games that I think lives up to the hype. However, I haven't gotten super far into this one, partially because I've been streaming other things, partially because I've been busy with real life, and partially because I've been obsessed with the original Hollow Knight. Trying Hollow Knight again right before this one came out was both the best idea and the worst idea, because it got me ready for this game, but I also fell in love with Hollow Knight, and that's all I've been wanting to do. I've been streaming Silksong a little bit here and there, not as much as my audience wants me to be perfectly honest, not as much as I want to be perfectly honest, but I'm trying to stick to the schedule that I've made for myself, and that doesn't allow a ton of time for this game. I really like this game. I just think I like Hollow Knight more, and so while I am in the middle of Hollow Knight right now, or actually I'm getting really close to the end of Hollow Knight, that's the one that I'm leaning towards. I don't think there's anything wrong with Silksong necessarily. I understand the get good argument. I think the game is very challenging, but in a way that leaves you feeling like, man, I could do that. Like one more try, like on my next try, I'm going to get that. There's a lot of games that are really hard and they leave you feeling discouraged and like, there's no chance. Why do I even bother? Silksong, every boss that I've fought has left me with that, like, I can do this. I can, like, my next turn, I'm going to get this. If I just do that, I can win this. And that's an incredible feeling. There's a lot of bosses in this game. There may even be too many bosses in this game, if I'm being perfectly honest. My love for these games comes from the exploration side more than the combat side. And I think Hollow Knight nails that balance a little bit better for me. Anyways, Silksong is really great. And the ability to have bosses that are punishing, but that make you feel like you can do it and like kind of like just force you to try one more time. Incredible game making. I think Hollow Knight Silksong is incredible. I haven't played it very much, unfortunately. I just, like yesterday, made it to Act 2. So if you know where the game at all, you know kind of where I am. I want to be playing this one more. I'm going to dedicate more time to this as soon as I finish with Hollow Knight. I can't quite put it in S tier yet. I have been told by my audience that the further into the game you get, the better this game gets. In fact, a bunch of people have been saying the game doesn't even start until Act 2. So I'm very curious to see where this one goes. As of right now, it is the top of A tier, and it could easily become S tier, but not yet. We'll see where this one lands. Come back next year. Again, this is going to be one that I'm going to be playing this year on stream, so this will be part of next year's tier list as well. We'll see how it lands then. After we finished with our playthrough of Castlevania Symphony of the Night, we decided to go back and play Super Metroid. Now, this is the classic Super Nintendo game from 1994. I didn't play it for the first time in 1994, but I did play it in the 90s and the 2000s and the 2010s, and now I can say I played it in the 2020s. This is an absolute classic of a game, and until this playthrough, I probably would have put this on my top 5 games of all time. I loved this game. This most recent playthrough, maybe because I've been playing more elaborate games, I don't know, maybe because I've been playing more polished Metroidvania games, I did notice some control issues that kind of bothered me a little bit. But perfectly, let's be honest, having played this one as many times as I have over the decades, I can't give this one a bad score. Super Metroid is an absolute classic of a game for a reason. So I'm going to be putting this one very, very highly on my list. Again, like Castlevania Symphony of the Night, Castlevania Symphony of the Night is in the S tier. I don't think this one quite lives up to Castlevania Symphony of the Night in the S tier. I'm going to be putting it in the A tier, but very, very highly in the A tier. Super Metroid is going to go just behind Silksong in the A tier. Just an absolute classic. I know I've said that about a couple of these games, but realistically, if you look at the list here, I've got some classics on this list. You can't deny that. And Super Metroid absolutely earns its place at the top of A tier. You'll notice a lot of the games that I'm ranking lately have been top of A or S tier, but that's because, quite frankly, Metroidvanias are my favorite genre of games. They're the ones that I really enjoy playing. They're the ones that I look forward to. Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown was a game that came out of left field for me. I am not a Prince of Persia fan. Didn't really like the 3D ones on the GameCube or the PlayStation. Haven't really played it since like the original game back on the Commodore, which I always thought was too hard because I was like 5 at the time. So this is not a franchise that's been on my radar. This one, however, being a Metroidvania, was highly recommended to me, and I'm so glad that it was. I played this one right after playing Hollow Knight at the end of 2023, going into 2020. Sorry, how does time work? Sorry, at the end of 2024, going into 2025. My apologies. I played it right after Hollow Knight, and if you had asked me then, this game would be higher up on my list than Hollow Knight was. I loved this game. I loved everything about it. I loved the combat. I loved the combat mechanics. I loved the look of this game, although I realize that the artistic style might leave some people cold. The platforming in this one is absolute god tier. It is maybe my best platforming in any game ever. I love the way your character moves. The storyline is maybe the weakest point, but honestly, it's not even that weak. The boss fights are amazing. I can't say enough good things about this game. However, I've recently been playing through Hollow Knight again, and I have to put Hollow Knight above this one, at least until I replay Prince of Persia. It might be a matter where these two are just constantly going back and forth, but right here, right now, I'm going to be putting Prince of Persia just below Hollow Knight in the S tier. Now, as far as streaming this game goes, I got a lot of compliments while playing this game as well. A lot of people coming in, checking me out and being like, what is this? This looks really cool. And I got to tell them about the Prince of Persia game that they also ignored. Ubisoft in 2025 is not in a good place, let's be perfectly honest. So a lot of people probably skipped this game, but watching me play it and playing it myself gave a lot of people pause to be like, oh, this actually looks legit. This is actually really cool. And I know a couple of streamers who have picked this one up, not streamed it, but picked this one up and played it in the background and really enjoyed this one as well. So I feel like this one worked for me, worked for my audience, and worked as a streaming game. I'm giving Prince of Persia the title of S tier, putting it just below Hollow Knight. And again, if I replay this one, it might hopscotch back and forth. It's really hard to say. Next up, we have Ori and the Blind Forest, the Definitive Edition. Now, honestly, I don't really know what the Definitive Edition does other than just clean up the graphics a little bit. And Ori and the Blind Forest and its successor, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, are well known for being some of the prettiest Metroidvanias out there. So this lived up to its title. Like, this was an absolutely gorgeous game. I did play this back in the Xbox 360 days, and I really loved it back then, and I feel like I connected to the story back then, maybe because I was playing it solo as opposed to playing it in front of an audience. But I loved this game when I first played it. Much like Shadow Complex, I thought this game was a 9.5, and then replaying it, I still think it's that. I still think it's like an 8.5 or a 9. It is a very solid game. The one thing that I would kind of ding on it is the combat system. In this game, you play as a little white animal. I don't know that it's ever explained what you are. And you don't actually do any fighting yourself per se, but you have a little red spirit that follows you around, and you just kind of flick that red spirit at things. It is a weird combat system. It doesn't really feel like you are engaged at all. There's no boss fights of any kind. It's just there are things in your way that will hurt you, and you need to get them out of your way. There are mechanics in this game that I have not seen in other things, as unlike Shadow Complex, which feels like it did everything Super Metroid did, just a little bit cleaner. This game does add some new ideas that I hadn't seen before, and I still really enjoyed this one. And as far as an audience participation goes, they all seem to enjoy this one as well. Ori and the Blind Forest is going to go pretty high on my A list. However, I'm going to put it below Guacamelee, as Guacamelee was new and inventive and super fun. And just kind of got my audience more engaged with its humor, whereas the storyline in Ori didn't really seem to heavily engage anybody, myself included, but the gameplay of Ori was incredible. Ori and the Blind Forest is going into the A tier. And for our last Metroidvania, we have Inayah Life After Gods. Now again, like Shadow Complex, I've got a review for this one. I'll leave a link down below if you want to go check out the full review, but this is a game that I thoroughly enjoyed, but seemed to leave my audience cold. It is an indie game from developer Exogenesis Studios, and it is their first game. I was looking forward to this one. I think the graphics on this one are absolutely stunning. I think some of the character designs in this one are really cool. I think the world is interesting. However, the combat doesn't scale with Inayah, and that was my biggest complaint. When you are small, you have a hard time fighting the enemies. You get stronger. You no longer have a hard time fighting the enemies. You get stronger. The enemies barely exist. You get stronger. The bosses barely exist. I was 3-hitting bosses by the end of this game, which felt super anticlimactic. The platforming isn't all that strong either, which is a little bit unfortunate, and it sounds like I'm ripping into this game, but I promise you, I just had a good time with this game. It's one of the few games where I beat the game, and then the end credits made me want to play it again, as opposed to the end credits making me want to never touch it. Like, a lot of the times, I'm not a completionist, so a lot of times when I beat a game, my brain checks out. As soon as I'm done beating it, I move on, which is why I am purposefully not fighting the last boss in Hollow Knight right now until I get everything, just in case my brain does check out. I want to make sure I get that 112%. In Inayah, it kind of did what the Quarry did, but right, where you get those title cards that are like, this is what happened, but instead of it just being like Sarah lived, it's like your ability to do this changed the world in this way, and because you changed the world in this way, this happened, and this person attacked this person, and that's how the world progressed. And it gives you that sense of like, if I did that differently, I could probably change that outcome. And so I went back and I played it again, not all the way from the beginning, but just from a previous save file, and I made sure that I did all of the side quests in the way that I really wanted them to, so they ended, so I got the ending that I was really happy with. All the people in those end credit cards had the storyline kind of the best one that I could possibly give for them, and it made me feel really good about the game. Now, unfortunately, at the time that I played the game, it didn't have a percentage meter, so I couldn't say exactly if I got like 99 or 100% or where I was on the game, but I feel like I got pretty much everything out of it that I could, and I thoroughly enjoyed the experience. However, as I mentioned, this one left my audience very cold, and every time that I try and play it on stream, people will be like, oh, this one again? So I think this is a fun game. I would definitely recommend it, but I can't recommend it as a game to stream. And so unfortunately, I'm going to be putting it in the top of the C category. Whereas if it was just me, it would probably be landing like mid B tier. But I can't deny my audience hated this one. It's a C. All right, if you're new to the channel, you might be wondering why Marvel Strike Force is on this list at all. It's a mobile game that I played, and it's actually where I started the channel for Twitch and YouTube, was playing this game and building my community. So most of my community knows me from this game, and they kind of forced me to put this one on the list. Even though I'm not putting any of the other mobile games that we played on here, I will put this one on because this is where people know me from. It's a conundrum, however, because I don't really know where to put this one. As far as mobile games go, it's one of the better mobile games, but that's like, you know, not high praise. Mobile games are generally awful, and I don't know that this one's any different than that. However, as a streaming experience, Marvel Strike Force might be S tier. Hear me out. It's one of those games where there's no time limit to what you're doing, so you can kind of take your time. You can talk to your audience can talk to the audience can talk to you. Everybody can be helping everybody else. So I can be teaching the audience how to do certain fights or what team is best to bring into certain areas. Or the audience can be teaching me. And while the audience is teaching me, they might teach somebody else in the audience. There's a lot of conversation that you can be had in this game, and at no point are you lost in the game. You can pause at any time. You don't even have to pause. You can literally just stop playing at basically any time. Most of the games on this list, like Hollow Knight, if you stop playing during a boss fight, you're dead, right? Like even if you pause and come back to it, you have that moment of like, wait, what was I doing? The great thing about this game is you can stop it at any time, talk to your audience, have your audience talk to you. You can be engaging them, teaching them, they can be teaching you. It is an incredible streaming experience. On top of that, it has consistently for months now had drops going, which means that the viewership over there is really solid. So if you are a streamer looking for a community and looking to, I'm kidding you, not kidding you, hit partner, go check out Marvel Strike Force. There is a massive community over there. They're all wonderful, well, mostly wonderful people. You can grow your numbers over there. You can start a community, and the game, while not great compared to the other games on this list, is really solid compared to other things you could be streaming. I have a hard time listing this one though, because I have no interest in playing it anymore. I've spent years with this game and I want to move on with my life. So for me, this is D tier. For the ability to stream it, it might be like an S or an A. So where does this one actually land? I don't know. All right, and that is my tier list for every game that we played on stream between my 2nd anniversary and my 3rd anniversary in 2024 and 2025. Come back next year where we'll do this all again for my 25 to 2026 list. If you enjoyed this list and you made it this far in the video, you probably did. Make sure you leave a comment down below. It does help the channel quite a bit. And hit like and subscribe so that we see you in the next one.